Yeah, I guess we don't have to be perfectly in sync or anything like that
No,
if we
we're
know.
live now. So,
Hey, that's
welcome to
great.
the JetsCentric live stream where we are watching and reacting to the Seattle Kraken expansion draft. I'm Kishore and I'm joined by Brian and Brady. And yes, we know all the picks, but I think we're going to try to have some fun with this, going beyond the picks and doing a little bit of analysis, both from the Jets' perspective, but also what this team is going to look like and maybe where they end up. And as I think most of us know, this is not the end of things. The Kraken are probably going to make a lot of moves in the coming days and weeks. With that, let's say hey to Brian
Hey, hey.
and Brady.
Hello,
Uh,
how's it going?
Okay, now that Saravelli has done his F bomb all day today, what are you kind of expecting out of tonight?
I mean, really, what I'm looking for. I mean, of course, it's a bit of a spectacle, of course, too. It's we all saw the leak that came out yesterday. It seems like they're going to be trying to have fun with their picks, and then also obviously there's going to be some side deals. So I'm just kind of looking to see. Hopefully there'll be a little bit of drama. Maybe one of the guys that they're taking, they immediately flip to someone else. I don't know. Just kind of keeping my head open to see whatever happens.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure any of those. I don't know if we're going to see any of those flip deals like right now,
Mhm.
but this, if I recall correctly, the side deals came out like while they were announcing the picks last year too. So
Mhm.
I think that'll be part of this. You have to think there's going to be a lot of side deals with a lot of the players they picked. They left a lot of talent on the table, I think, especially in their bottom six. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Mhm.
Shout out to the folks that are showing up in our YouTube live stream set. Liz, our usual host, is there, but she's having a little watch party at her own house tonight. And Kent and Chris. Um, all right, where do you guys fall on the booing Gary Bettman? Like, it's an American tradition to boo Gary Bettman anytime he appears in public, but I'm curious where you fall on it.
I was gonna say, is it an American tradition specifically? But then I was like, oh yeah, I guess there's not really like, I guess other than Montreal being in the Cup finals, there hasn't been like Canadian teams in the finals. So yeah. No, I honestly I think it's all in good fun. I'm a fan of it personally. I think it's kind of funny. I think it's a good thing to just try and bring him back down. He's got to realize what we all think of him, what we all remember. All that stuff. I like it. I think it's funny.
I agree. I think it's funny. I'm kind of indifferent to it, but it's like okay, I mean, it's almost funny because you expect it. So, I mean,
I,
I don't really have a hard stance on it though. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a little tired for me, but when you don't hear the booze, it feels like something's wrong with the broadcast. You're
mhm.
like when Tampa won last year, not this year,
But
and
this
there are no
time.
fans and no one booed him. I was like, this doesn't feel right for some reason.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Both of you are up in Winnipeg, and so you're not getting this vibe. But down here in the states, this is a huge deal because this is the first broadcast where ESPN has gotten the rights back. And
Right.
so
Mm.
all of their new talent and old talent are going to be on display tonight. So we're already getting like Chris Fowler and I guess that's Dominic Moore kind of
Hmm.
anchoring this, who are going to be new. I don't think Chris Fowler is going to be part of the team, but it's just going to be some fresh faces.
Mhm.
What's the Canadian broadcast? Is it the typical Sportsnet thing?
Oh, I think like it's the same as the ESPN broadcast. I think it's
Yeah.
all
It's just got the sports and stuff on the bottom there.
yeah.
No, but you're not getting commentary from any of the Sportsnet or TSN people.
Oh, I honestly,
Um,
I haven't been paying any attention. Honestly, I just turned it on as I pretty much got on here. So
I have it.
I
I have essentially muted because it's a little tough to hear the guys talking and then try and mix that with talking to you guys and this and that.
yeah,
So
exactly.
occasionally I turn it up to be like, oh, are they saying something important? But then at the same time, it's like it's just disorienting to have both.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm hoping for tonight. Like we know the picks. I hope there's actually legitimately a surprise, But I'm
Yeah.
hoping somebody in like the most classic NHL way gets like hit in the face with a fish or something. Just something like so absurdly stupid because the NHL, like, is known for kind of botching these a little bit.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think back to when how many years ago it was? I think it was like in 2017 or 18 when they had the All-Star game. No, not the All-Star game, the awards. The awards show, and there's the magician who was trying to show Anze Kopitar, who won, I don't remember what award, and reveals all the cards, and it's just completely messed up. One card's here, one card's there. The picture is just all messed up, and
I
it very NHL.
I don't remember this.
You don't remember
The
this?
magician,
I don't
it's
remember
so
that.
classic.
It's so good. It's so funny. Man, I gotta try and find that clip. It's so awkward because you see he just immediately just like tail between his legs like a dog and just oh no, it just like puts them back together.
Okay. All right, we have
Out.
to talk about the picks because they're doing like Kevin Weeks is up there doing his thing. Kevin's going to be part of the ESPN broadcast. I'm psyched to see him there. But while they're filling space, I mean, we should just get into it and talk about the Jets pick. Kraken got Mapleton, and we avoid the meltdown that was going to be coming tonight had they selected DeMello.
Yeah.
Where do you end up on this?
Good for the Jets. I mean, they lucked out. I think like they took an unnecessary risk, obviously by exposing DeMello. Garrett Hull had it from sources inside the Jets that Seattle wasn't even interested in Stanley. But
As they, I mean, why would they be?
I mean,
He's tall.
based on the other guys I selected, I guess I could kind of see it. They did tend to go younger and cheap, so
But there were so
could...
many better options for if you're going young and cheap from other teams. So it just didn't really make sense in my view. What I'm actually really interested to see is because obviously they took Appleton, but I'm curious to see if potentially the Jets gave him maybe a little bit of sweetener. Who knows?
No.
It could even just be. I doubt it. I really doubt it because I think Seattle was interested in Appleton from the start.
I believe it was confirmed that they didn't give up anything.
Well, we'll see. I'm just curious.
We'll see when Carey Price walks out on stage in a couple minutes in a jersey. We'll just throw out all this.
Yeah, it was all a smoke screen.
I would love that. My favorite. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh, mine. I was going to transition to something else. Another pick that was announced was I just saw a lot of stuff going for the Leafs thing, but like I said, if we can get to that after.
Yeah, I'll say I agree with the lucky thing because. I don't think Mapleton's the pick. Jeremy Lauzon. First pick is Jeremy Lauzon. Mm-hmm. I'm actually a little surprised about this that it wasn't Zaboral they took, but Lauzon's a good, solid pick.
I don't know enough about Lauzon, but I don't know. Seems like again young defenseman. Seems like he would be. I'm just as surprised as you. When it comes to, I would have thought of Zaboral first, but that's also me just going, I know his name. I know he was in that 3-pick crop that the Bruins took instead of Shabbat, Barzal, and Connor. But
yeah, I think both are kind of meh prospects at this point. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't have one significantly ahead of the other. Look, when I did my mock draft, I was pretty underwhelmed with most of the options. So like when I did mine, I took a home run swing with Andre Kasha, hoping he would kind of bounce back from injuries and kind of regain his form. Like kind of a big swing, but
is he under contract next year?
He's an RFA.
He's an RFA. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
So to me, this is like he's going down to the AHL. Like this is like a stock AHL with somebody. But going back to Mapleton while they're kind of filling time here, mm-hmm. I think the Jets got super lucky because the Kraken clearly had deals with Larson and Alexiak, and all of a sudden, like signing another defenseman with term, and like DeMello doesn't have much term; it's only another couple years, but it made a whole lot less sense when you had Larson signed. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd rather have Dylan DeMello than Adam Larson at 4x4. That's a
I think
Yeah.
both
deal.
are like I think Adam Larson's a good defenseman.
Hmm.
I think DeMello might be a bit better, maybe kind of
And
in
better.
like in more of a new kind of new age defenseman sense where he's making smart quick passes all the time, stepping up at like all three zones. He's really good at breaking up plays and keeping possession for the Jets. Larson's more of kind of that stout kind of defender.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So
And
yeah, I mean,
DeMelo's on a bit better of a deal too. Like what, three over three or whatever it was? A three over
Yeah.
four? I
yeah,
can't
three
remember
by
now.
three is 3x3 is such a steal for DeMello. I
Yeah.
think 4x4 is fine for Larson too, honestly. But
It's not terrible, but I'd rather have the DeMello deal and take the extra $3 million
Yeah.
over the term. And four, Larson's not young, so four
Mhm.
is not super. Again, it's not terrible, but it's one of those things where you're like, it's okay. Was that an octopus that just flashed by our screen?
Yeah, it was. Oh, and there's Dennis Cholowski was that, and that
I think
was
we missed. I think we
we
missed.
missed Buffalo's pick. Yeah, it
Right,
was
Will
It's
Will
Borgen.
Borgen.
I don't think we
Um,
yeah.
need to talk much
I don't
about
know,
him.
think we need to
He's a
say
guy.
anything.
He's a guy who has
the
a chance to play games.
the only thing that I'll say was that I know that Will Borgen was the guy that I'd seen from Buffalo fans that they were like the most worried about losing or whatever. That was the guy that they didn't want to lose the most of the
It was
exposed guys.
it was him or Colin Miller. There was nobody there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that means anything. And then of course,
It means nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then Cholowski just now was announced, and I mean he was the last pick to get leaked. I think the reason for that was that him and his agent just weren't able to be reached all day, because
Oh,
that was how all the picks leaked, was because
Yeah.
all the players and agents needed to be notified that they were
got
getting
it.
taken.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
don't know why that needed to be the case. They should have just been like, "You're gonna find out when everyone else does," and
yeah,
like just deal
exactly.
with. Like you got
Um,
notified by not being on the protected list, so there you go. That's your notification to be on alert.
Yeah.
I
Sorry. The pick itself, though. What do you guys think? I like Cholowski was a guy who I think played like in his rookie year, did some good things, and since then it's just kind of been like not so great in terms of results. I haven't watched hardly any Red Wings hockey over the last few years, so I can't
why
speak
would you?
to it much more than that. But like Troy Stetcher was I think what people might have thought they were going to go with.
Yeah, that's more what I'm a little bit confused about. Like I don't think Cholowski's a bad pick at or anything like that. But Troy Stetcher's definitely seemed like the guy that made the most sense in my mind, especially if they're going to go with kind of how, like, looking at how Vegas drafted their team. Having a guy who, one, is like, I'd consider Troy Stetcher to be better than Cholowski, but also having a guy who has, I think his deal is up next year, so it's like that's a guy that you can either decide, okay, do we want to keep him longer, we can extend him, or you can cut ties immediately and say, all right, maybe this wasn't the best choice for us or whatever, having a little more freedom to it. I guess Cholowski would be an RFA this year, this year, I think.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, he's this
Isn't
year.
he?
Yeah, he's an RFA
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, and he's
The
a bit
weird
young.
thing
He's
about-
younger too.
The weird thing about Cholowski is he played like 50 games 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and he was down to like 15 games this season. Like he's backsliding on one of the worst teams in the league, which is like that's not a good sign for a young defenseman. It's like he's going to be in the AHL again. The only thing that was fun about this pick was everyone being like, Yzerman's not letting anyone leak anything. And just the whole, like, don't mess with Stevie Y. The NHL can't get this right, but Steve Yzerman did. And that was just fun. We're going to get to the more interesting picks here soon. But again, back to the Jets, because that's what we're here to really talk about.
The who? Sorry.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it what we're here to talk about? Anyway,
Well,
go ahead.
Well,
just
I'm
kidding.
ready to put people on blast. Like we did the warm up, we got 3 picks out of the way. Like now it's on. Like I think there is already like an undercurrent of people being like, well, You see, we were right, and I have zero time for that. I think they made an absolute mistake in exposing DeMello and got bailed out.
Hmm.
And the people that are like, well, Chevy knew they were going to take Stanley, but knew they wouldn't take DeMello. Like, that's 4D chess that I don't think Chevy's earned the
That's such a
rep for.
that's such a huge assumption that like nobody in the major media has reported that's false. But like I said earlier, Garrett Hole also tweeted out that he had it from someone in the Jets organization that they weren't even interested in Stanley. Like that, they're basing that whole thing on that. Like they're going to go with Appleton either way by the sounds of it, and you just didn't have to risk losing DeMello.
It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy to be no, they knew this. Like it's people are only saying this because
they're
they
all
ended
putting
up
their protected lists out at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like,
I think we would have heard about a leaked side deal or something from the front office.
Chris Drieger announced from Florida.
Yeah, that one was super obvious. That was like one of the first ones that was kind of leaked, I guess.
Yeah.
Just because his contract stuff was leaked earlier. He's getting a 3x3, I think, from them.
3 by 3.2. Yeah,
I think.
I like this pick as a goalie to split time with somebody else.
Oh, and there he is.
It got confusing. Yeah, it got really confusing after the Drieger pick, how they went with goalies. Should we talk about their goalies?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it was, he's actually there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, damn, that jersey looks good. I'm going to have to get one. I'm going to have to get one at some point, I think.
Wait. Pause. Is that a goalie wearing the number 60? I do not care for that. I didn't realize...
He wore 60 with the Panthers. I'm surprised that that's not just like I wore this here and that, that's just kind of because I was the backup or whatever. But maybe I guess that's his number. I haven't looked and seen what he wore in like junior or anything like that. But yeah, I find goalies nowadays are going a lot more funky with their numbers. I think the most egregious is Koskinen, who wears 19 as a goalie, and that just makes me want to puke every time I see it. It's awful. It's so bad.
I don't care. I honestly don't care really that much about the number. I really don't.
Except for Koskinen. it's bad. 19's bad.
Brian, we have to fill an hour and a half here. We're going to talk about obscure stuff. Let's start with some goalies that are up there. But anyways,
we have Cale Fleury from Montreal announced.
We'll come to Cale Fleury and the run on Fleury's momentarily. But back to the goalies on the Kraken. So they have Drieger and Vitek Vanacek as their two guys they're going to split time.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I think it's a little bit risky. Like, Vanacek was just okay this year, and if Drieger is a one-hit wonder, you're not looking so great in that position.
Do they have a third goalie, or is it just two that they took? Oh, Joey Decord, right. The one thing I was confused that I'm really surprised that they didn't go for Kakinen in Minnesota. That was one that seemed like such an obvious pick.
And they went with Susie from there, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Susie's all right, but like I
might
don't understand that.
He might be their seventh guy or something like that.
Yeah, but they have other people that can play seven, like a 7D or a 60.
Well, they're gonna flip some of these guys too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I bet you a bunch of these players aren't on the team. Like, I'm actually going to go out there and say it. Giordano's not going to be on opening night.
You don't? No. I think they announced that he was going to be the captain.
They already announced he's going to be captain?
I think that was leaked.
It's possible. I'm not sure. I think that was definitely something that people were talking about as like, it makes sense that he would just be their first captain kind of thing.
I thought that was leaked. Like, I thought that was like actual insider.
Okay. I've got it. They take Mark Giordano and they flip him to the Oilers. and you have the ex-Calgary Flames captain playing for the Oilers. Oh wait, sorry, never mind. They already have Duncan Keith. They're good. They don't need him.
Essentially, they'll have flipped Larson for Hall and Larson for Giordano. Larson is really building like a rep. Then that would be pretty impressive. I think they have to go out and get another goalie. I don't think you can go out there with Drieger and Vanacek as opening day goalies and be
Mhm.
like, yeah, that's our crew. I sorry, I have to mute Macklemore. I'll be right back.
Man, I am ashamed to admit that back in the day I was a Macklemore fan, and then like way back in the day. But it's funny. He actually, this is completely off topic. He has a golf clothing line now, and it's actually really nice. It's called Bogey Boys. Big fan. Big, really cool. Um, and now they're announcing Joy Decord, so that's a good segue back into hockey. Sorry.
Yeah. Like I'm not one of those people that's like, why didn't they select Ben Bishop or anything like that? I'm actually not big on them selecting Price, but this feels like a weird set of goalies to go in day one with because they're legit probably going to finish third in that division with the team that we see.
So here's an interesting one that we can talk about. Yanni Gourde from the Tampa Bay Lightning.
That's a good pick. That'll be their top.
He might be their best player this year. He might not be, but like he'll be up there.
I don't think he will be because they'll sign a better UFA. I'm hoping they land Gabe, but
yeah.
we'll see.
I personally think Yanni Gourde is a better hockey player than Gabriel Landeskog. Fight me on that.
Ooh, hot takes. Apparently talks with Gabe haven't gone, like they've slowed at least, and he's gone back to talk with the Avalanche a lot more.
Really?
A lot of things that a lot of people are saying, like, oh, can Gourde play? He played third line on the Lightning. Can he play top line on this and that? And if you look at like his on ice usage, like he was used like a first or second line player on Lightning.
Fourth most minutes among Lightning forwards during the regular season, third most in the playoffs.
He was the best center available.
Oh, absolutely.
So I actually thought this was the most book it pick out there until they didn't protect Palat, which actually caught me a little off guard.
Yeah,
that they didn't protect Palat, because I think Brian on the podcast we recorded, you had them not protecting McDonough.
Who did they protect? They went. I had them going 7-3, and they went 4-4. So.
Which I'm surprised. Well, I don't know. I guess it makes sense to protect like Chernak.
I just thought McDonough's contract, like it's not going to be good very soon. So like I thought they would expose him, but
I think we're about to get Toronto's pick just based on the setting. Yesterday was funny. Yesterday was so such a shit show on Twitter. It was so funny, man.
So what was better, the meltdown about this Kerfoot leak, or like the hockey dating version of Twitter that was like 2 days ago, where everyone was.
I was just like, wait, what's going on? And then I don't know. Man. I was like, I like to get in on a lot of things on Twitter. I mean, I just decided that wasn't it.
Man. I remember the first person who quote tweeted that tweet from Dom was Mikey Stevens, and then immediately after, like I just saw him just getting like 4 or 5 like people just in the DMs, sorry, not in the DMs, in replies, and like a couple of them were like socials, like NHL social. I think the Preds social girl was there. Oh. I was like, congrats, buddy, good stuff.
I know Sarah Sivian is a little bit of a divisive figure sometimes, but I would legit watch a show with Sarah and Dom doing hockey dating.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think it's time to talk about Jared McCann.
Yeah, I really like this pick. I thought he'd been one of the more sort of under the radar, underrated players in the league the last couple years. Like he was nothing special, but then this year, he really took a big step forward. Like when Malkin went out for Pittsburgh, he stepped into that 2C role and absolutely just owned it. He was excellent from all standpoints. I like that pick. I think he can certainly step into a top 6 center role, or if you want, you can play him on the wing. I like the option of having him at center. So I think that's a really good pick for the Kraken.
I think he's their second line center night one.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, take what you will from this. I'm pretty sure it was either Gar or War. I think he led the league in
Same
Gar or
thing.
War, I believe, this year, above Connor
Um,
McDavid, which, take
no,
what you will
no,
from that,
it
I think.
was it was war per
Oh,
60.
War per
Or
60, my bad, my
yeah,
bad.
it's
Um,
so
Either
Look
way,
out, Dominic Moore has a fish and he's going to use it on somebody.
a lot of that is a lot of that is driven by on ice shooting percentage. Like he's not the best forward in the league.
No, of course not.
He's not among the best forwards in the league, but he could have a chance to step into a top six role and really do well with it. This
What?
year was a giant step forward compared to what he's used to. But
Mhm.
some people who I trust their opinion that have watched a lot of Pittsburgh really say he took steps forward with his transition game and his creation after getting the zone entries as well.
Mhm.
So I'm excited for that pick for the Kraken.
I grew up a Canucks fan until the Jets came back, and he was one of the guys, like, he was drafted by the Canucks, and I really liked him back in the day. And then he was a part of, I think, the Luongo trade when he went to
No, it was
Florida.
the good
It was
Branson
it was the
trade.
good Branson trade. Thank you. But I was gonna ask you guys, what do you guys think of Toronto's the mindset they had with the whole, like, okay, we're gonna trade for this guy. We traded Hollander and a seventh for this guy, which essentially, if he gets taken, then it's like, instead of anyone from our actual roster game taking, it's, we're just losing a pick and a seventh. Um, which
He's
honestly,
better than Kerfoot. That's what I think
that's
about
my
it.
issue. That's exactly my issue. So, like, I think that that's not a bad mindset to go. If Seattle's raking you over the coals, saying, if you got to pay us a first and a third to not touch this guy or that guy, sure. But the thing I really have an issue is that you trade for this guy who is, like, clearly very good, and then
Uh,
immediately you go, we're gonna protect Justin Hall over him
yeah,
and Kerfoot.
Yeah, I think you got to look at it as two separate things
I
almost. Like the
agree.
trade was very good, like, and the result from it, like, even with Jared McCann having been picked, is still good. Like it's essentially Hollander, which is like a B
B
prospect.
level prospect.
Yeah.
He might end up being an NHLer, and a seventh round pick for them to take nobody. Essentially, that's a good trade off, but it could have been a better trade off. I think you could have a very good player there, and I think you should have protected him at the very least ahead of Justin Hall. So
Mhm.
and then you could also protect a couple more forwards. You probably lose Travis Dermott then. Like I don't know if they're valuing
Like,
I don't know if they're valuing Travis Dermott over Jared McCann by doing that, but
yeah, I don't know, because in protecting Hall, obviously they like, by going 4-4, you give up 3 slots on forward to protect Hall, and it's like,
yes.
so I if you're, there was rumblings for a long time that Seattle was really interested in Kerfoot, so I don't see why you don't just, like, go with the 7-3, you protect Kerfoot, McCann, whoever, and then you leave Hall and Dermott. And if they take Hall, you go, hey, would you want Kerfoot? We'll trade you Kerfoot for Hall. Like, if you're really married to Hall, which I don't think you should be. Again,
Or you
like,
could
it's
give them. Well, I guess the side deal things were expensive, so maybe giving up a pick to steer them towards Kerfoot wouldn't have been the best idea. But
I,
I don't know.
I think they did. I think they did half of that. Oh well, and the other half,
Mhm.
I don't think they made the right choice. But
I think you just big
nonetheless, here
branded
we
a little too
are.
much.
so I think you're both right that Justin Hall's the person I would rather have lost. But like, even if you look at this as just an equivalent thing, like the trade was fine. Dubas hasn't made a lot of bad trades. Like he's very good at that element. But I'd so much rather have Jared McCann than Kerfoot on my team. They would be better. So I can't give Toronto an A grade here. But if you're the Pens, yeah, you lost McCann, but you also lost Tanev's contract. And like I think if I'm Berkey and Hextall, I'm feeling pretty good about where I come out on this trade. I was going to lose McCann either
Yeah.
way,
Mhm.
and now I got rid of a contract I shouldn't have signed from the
I
previous
wonder if there's
regime.
a side. I really wonder if there was a side deal there, especially with Zach Aston Reese and Marcus Pettersson available.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. Marcus Pettersson is good from what I know. So
Hey,
I
he's
don't.
solid. Like he's not a high
He's
end
solid.
player, but he can play in your top 4, and he's gonna
But
defend well.
that's all you need if you're a Pens defenseman. You don't need to be great. You need to get
Mhm.
the puck out of your zone and get out of the way. And so I think the Pens are in a much better position because, frankly, they outplayed the Islanders except at goalie, where they just were just an absolute trash fire. And
Yeah.
so if they fix goalie, now you're basically coming back with the same team minus Jared McCann.
Mhm.
I'm feeling all right.
And Zach Hyman, they're losing, which I would say like Jared McCann's a guy you can throw in your top 6. Like that's exactly a perfect cheap replacement for Hyman.
All
Yeah,
right.
I don't understand what Toronto came out the terrible end of this.
Yeah, I agree.
Carolina takes Morgan Geekie. What do you think of that?
This is honestly one of the biggest surprises of the draft to me.
Mhm.
Not that Morgan Geekie's a bad forward. I just thought Jake Bean is the pick.
Absolutely.
Like, all day.
I absolutely agree with you on that one. And if obviously, so based on seeing the whole list, they weren't going with the veterans with
Nino,
with
Niederreiter.
a high
Mhm.
cap hit with a year left. So like they could have taken Niederreiter, but besides that, Jake Bean I thought was the pick as far as a young guy who could possibly turn into a second pair defenseman down the road.
I totally agree. I'm surprised also they just announced the pick from Columbus.
What are you
Gavin
surprised by?
Beirut,
Because like no one knows who the hell this guy is.
Well, I mean, I'm just
This
surprised.
was like one of those you were like, who?
I remember
Yeah.
watching him somewhere, and I don't remember where the hell it was.
Well, I just look and there's just options I see that are better. First off, this guy is already a UFA right now, so he doesn't have a contract. So that's one thing that I'm surprised about. Second, Dean Kukin is like not bad, and he also Bayreuther is only a year younger. Like he's 27. Like he's not young or anything like that.
Yeah.
Kukin has, I mean, he's a little bit more expensive. He's 1.65 instead of like a 700. Or I guess he has no contract. It just didn't. I don't know. It just didn't make
This is a
sense
cap
to me.
space move. This was
Probably.
like I don't want a player from that team, and so I'm not taking a cap hit from it.
But I don't see why you wouldn't take a guy like Dean Kukin who probably
Yeah.
has some value, or even like a Kevin Stenland or something like that, who's a young guy, and like
Yeah.
I just don't see why you don't get something that has some value. I mean, it's fine to just go, whatever, we don't care, but
They're going real quick with these picks here.
Yeah.
They just announced. Who did they just announce?
Nathan
Jersey.
Bastian from
Nathan
Jersey.
Bastian from New Jersey. I don't even know a lot about this player because I don't think I spent a lot of time analyzing who might get picked from New Jersey, and the ones I did, like Andreas Janssen, Will Butcher, I thought one of them would be the pick. So
or
It's pretty.
Nathan
Or
Bastian
PK.
surprised me.
or PK, Captain PK would be
I
great.
thought at first maybe that could be an option, but then I quickly went away from that. Have they announced any side deals here?
I
Like,
don't
I
think
would-
so.
No.
I don't think so. The one thing with Nathan Bastian, I mean, like I'll be honest, I know barely anything about the Devils. Like he's a young guy, like 23 years old. From what I saw on Twitter, at least, and again, this is just fans. It's not, they seem to be upset. The few people from New Jersey
Okay.
that it was Nathan Bastian of anything, but. Hey, and we got Jordan Everly coming up to
Jordan
the stage.
Everly looks absolutely fire in that jersey.
That white
is-
jersey is so nice.
It looks so good. Oh, so let me ask you this, since we're on the jersey. Okay, day one, what jersey are you buying? What nameplate on the back? I think Everly's up there, right?
Everly's got to be.
Yeah.
I think Gord would be up there, and then also, I mean, you can't not say Appleton. Like I just being a Jets fan.
I can say not Appleton.
I might-
like Appleton across the back of your jersey just isn't fire.
I would think about Jared McCann as well. Like
McCann would be a cool one.
yeah, besides
sure.
that, I'm not too terribly high on any of their picks. Like probably one of those three guys, Eberle, Gord, or McCann.
Yeah. Probably Everly, Gordon, McCann, and then again Appleton. I can't not rep our boy. Or
Yeah,
or whatever his name was, Bayruther, some random dude.
Bayruther.
It's interesting that they took I think Eberle was the right pick. He's very clearly a top line player, but they had the option between him and Josh Bailey,
Yeah,
which I'm surprised that the Islanders had so many pretty decently good players available.
they needed to get rid of a contract somewhere.
Yeah, I guess so.
And also, the Islanders have proven system over players, and so they're like,
Yeah.
"F you, get out." We have a system that works. So
But you gotta score though. So,
I'm much higher on Bailey than I am on Eberle as an overall player, but Eberle is actually a finisher, and I think he's the only person they drafted that actually has scoring touch on the team.
Eberle has the underlying numbers. Bailey doesn't. Like Bailey's put up better point totals over the last 3 years as a whole, but I think Eberle can. Like if you look at shot impacts, expected goal impacts, that kind of thing, Eberle still drives offense with the best of them, and I think that could be huge. At the top of the lineup.
I saw those numbers too, but like Eberle has been put into better positions in that system than I think Bailey has. Like, I think I know that's isolated impact, but if you look at who Bailey has been playing with versus Eberle and the matchups they have against against the other team, I think Eberle's had more favorable line mates.
Fair enough. I think they need to add some shooting to this lineup, though. Like, there's not a lot of finishers on this lineup.
Yeah,
that's why I think the Eberle pick is fine. But yeah,
I saw a thing saying it's like there's going to be 2, maybe 3 goals scored in every Seattle game.
Yeah.
Because they're just a really good defensive team, and they have no offense, so it's just going to be a very boring. Not boring, low scoring game, it seems like,
right,
when they play.
So Colin Blackwell was chosen. If you go back and listen to the podcast Brian Liss and I did with our mock draft, I think we only got 3 or 4 picks right because so much happened after.
Yeah.
But this was one of them, and if I recall, I was like, I have nothing to say about Colin Blackwell.
Well, he put up some solid results in
late bloomer,
little minutes this year in a bottom 6 role. So
he's 28. Wow.
Yeah, it's so weird.
He's
like
old.
maybe he could step into a third line center position. Like maybe it's like a 1 year wonder kind of thing. Like it's probably like, and I don't even want to say 1 year wonder. He played such an insignificant role for New York that, there's just as good a chance like going up higher in the lineup. He just doesn't pan out.
There also wasn't really a lot to take from the Rangers. I mean, you got like Julian Gauthier.
It was Julian Gauthier or
Tyroning if you really want to get a little crazy.
I didn't even spend time analyzing Tyroning.
He's just a name for me. It's just a guy who I'm like, I know that guy. I remember him.
I appreciate Kent in the chat who has my back on Bailey better than Eberle, but I agree that I agree that Eberle has a finishing talent here. Okay, I'm gonna broach the subject that I've avoided for a while. A defenseman by the name of Rasmus Ristolainen.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't talk about him.
The funniest timeline ever would be after trading literal assets for Duncan Keith, trading for Rasmus Ristolainen and pairing them together. That would be the funniest thing in the world. Like I tweeted out yesterday, how great would it be if the Jets had a defensive lineup and it included a pairing of Morrissey, Ristolainen. I think it would be a lot more funny if Edmonton traded for him.
Yeah, it's just the prospect of the fact that it could have been lose Dylan DeMello, replace him with Rasmus Ristolainen.
Yeah,
just
what was the rumored price for him? It was a pick and a prospect too,
Yeah,
right? That's what was reported
was it a
yesterday.
first round pick? I can't even remember.
Oh my god, I just
So-
The NHL still values him because ice time, points. That's like the two things they use.
and being like, oh well, he's on a bad team, so maybe if he goes elsewhere, he'll be better. And then I think Garrett Hole had this tweet where he's just like, you know, if a player is bad and is on a bad team and plays a lot of minutes on a bad team, it's likely he's part of the reason why they're bad. It's like that makes a lot of sense.
And you look at that, but you also look at, okay, well, Jake McCabe had very good results on the same team.
Exactly.
Like,
well, McCabe is the right choice if you're choosing somebody. I mean, I could make an argument for Colin Miller, but let's like our right side is going to have Pionk, DeMello, and then somebody,
a guy.
Right? So
Yeah.
are you willing to pay 5 point whatever for that guy in Rasmus Ristolainen and lose assets?
Here's what they're going to look at it as.
Unless they have to trade DeMello for him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, they're going to they clearly don't value DeMello high enough. So their thought might be trade for Ristolainen, throw him on the top pair or in the top four, and then drop DeMello to the third, which is completely the wrong thinking.
Asinine.
The way the Jets, if they want to acquire a defenseman, in my opinion, need to go, unless it's a top end guy on the right side like Hamilton. Like that's not going to happen though. They got to go. Like they got to be looking in their top four at the left side. Like you could throw Ville Heinola in there if you want to. That might be asking a lot of him immediately. But like without a proven guy stepping in there, a guy like Jake McCabe would have been great or would be great. The Vince Dunn train is Vince Dunn thing, that ship has kind of sailed now, unfortunately, with him going to Seattle. But
when
that's the spot, lefty.
When Ville and Sandberg played together, who played on the right? I think it was Ville, right?
On the Moose. For the Moose, it was Sandberg on the right.
It was Sandberg?
Oh. Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
It didn't last for that long. It was only for the first, I think, 5, 6, 7 games I think they played together. Okay. And then
I don't think you could put Ville on his wrong side. I think that's not going to be successful.
I think he could, but it's just for his development. I'm like, stay on the left. We need guys on the left, you know?
Yeah. Well, as a guy who can really skate with the puck as well, like it's so much easier to skate the puck out on your left side.
Yeah, on your forehand.
Yeah.
So just to wrap up the Risto conversation, it's a mess. Like you can't trade for Risto. The crazy thing is, because of what happened with Larson leaving, Edmonton's going to overpay for Ristolainen. Like it's going to be nuts. They're going to trade a bunch of crap for him. Like,
God, I hope so.
God,
I hope so.
Legitimately think Ethan Bear might be traded for Rasmus Ristolainen.
Oh my God!
Because of what's happened.
Great. That would be amazing.
I'm here for it. I'm genuinely here for it.
Seattle just picked bona fide superstar Carson Twarynski.
This was the most. I was like, who?
Yeah,
I was.
Is there a side deal here? Like I can't listen because I've got my headset on. Like, have there been any side deals announced?
They haven't announced any side deals. I'm waiting for Ronnie Francis to come on at the end and he'd like, by the way, here are the teams we ruined 3 years from now. With these side deals.
If there hasn't been any side deals here, some of these picks just don't make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, these are all cap space deals if there isn't a side deal, right? Like they're all like, we're not going to offer this person a contract.
I think the idea should be, though, even if it's cap space, you grab the guy and then flip him. If you get the picks that way, or
I don't.
Or if you're taking the worst player, you get a side deal for him. If you don't get a side deal, take the best player or the best value if he's not going to be in your lineup and flip him.
Yeah, I'm not advocating they should have taken JVR or Voracek or Gostisbehere. I'm saying I'm surprised it wasn't somebody better than this.
Just looking at their list of who they had available, like even I don't even know, like even German Rupsov like that. I know he was a first round pick because he was the guy that the Flyers took with the pick that the Jets gave to them in order to trade up for Logan Stanley. Yeah, I know that unfortunately off the top of my head. And like even I don't know, I can't even think. They didn't really give a lot of options if you wanted to go young and cheap, but either.
Not with Nolan Patrick leaving.
Oh, of course, right. That what a trade! Like that was an interesting trade.
That was an interesting trade. So, U.S. women's hockey great Cami Granado is speaking, so I can't talk right now.
And there's our boy. Brandon Tanev. Sorry,
our boy. Oh, he's got the lock. He's there. Is he gonna do the look? Is he gonna do the image of him just like terrified of like the headshot?
All I know is that Dev is absolutely fired up. Yeah, they absolutely definitely wanted him off the Penguins.
I respect Tanev. I love what he did for our team a couple years ago, but he looks way worse in this jersey than Eberle did. Eberle like better fit in this jersey.
Yeah, again, and going back to that contract is a nightmare for like he's been good,
better than I thought.
Yeah, he's definitely been better than expected.
There's the face. I don't know if you guys have it live here.
Yeah, I see. That's so good.
I'm gonna be a little behind.
Brandon. Good work. First authentic laugh we got this entire draft.
There it is. Yeah, man. What a guy.
Oh man.
Sorry, so I can't get over it.
It's so funny.
Saw a ghost.
If he doesn't recreate it, like he's got to do what Brett Burns has been doing with his pictures. It's like periodically getting crazier as he goes along. He's just got to go nuts with it.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting. He'll be playing his brother in the Pacific.
I don't know. This is again another huge win for Berkey and Hextall getting rid of that contract. I want to catch up on some of the chat. So, Energy Designs, some of the best designs out there, by the way.
Best.
Like, he says, don't do it on Risto. Kent, and I think this is a shot fired to you and me, Brian. No one values DeBello like the way you guys do. And I would say their names are the twins with evolving hockey.
Yeah.
A lot of models value him the way we do. And then Liz is in here messing with things. When we trade Seattle a second for Vince Dunn, I'm like, I think that's gone.
Look, DeMello's not a superstar. He's a passable second, like number 2, and he's a great number 3 defenseman. Like
he's the type of guy.
Those guys are valuable.
You need guys like that on your team. Guys who just do the simple things and just.
Here's DeMello's a guy I've spent a lot of time watching. Like he makes 4 to 5, like he makes plays that are
like Logan Stanley worth protecting. How about that?
He makes plays that people don't really notice that much because they're not directly plays like in front of his own net or in front of the other net, but he makes 4 to 5 just outstanding plays, breaking up passes, breaking up zone exits, stepping in front of plays in the D zone every single game, and it's so valuable. And that's the reason why his shot metrics and ultimately, in a normal season, his goal metrics are very good.
He is good at something the Jets really, really need, which is the 5-foot pass. The very simple,
absolutely.
Put the puck on someone else's tape and get it out of their zone. Like that was very clearly when he was out against Montreal. Like it was the biggest issue with the Jets was that they would get the puck and the only thing they could do was boards it out, and then Montreal was just able to corral the puck, come back into the zone, and put the pressure back on. Yeah. And it's crazy how it's so clear. It's so clear to all of us who watch a ton that like the transition game is very clearly an issue. And again, obviously to get on our shtick with all of the other players that we go to bat for all the time. It's crazy to be like the thing that you guys very clearly need, we could fix with certain players, and one of them is DeMello, and having him be put on a potentially potentially lose him for nothing is just very poor asset management in my opinion.
I
But
think a lot of it, people just don't want to admit that Josh Morrissey has been not good at all the last two seasons. Like, I think maybe that's part of it. Like DeMello was clearly been the better player over the last two seasons. People just want to believe that Morrissey still is what he was 3 years ago, and it's just not the case. Specifically in the system and with the team that he's playing on right now.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel like I've seen people turning on Morrissey a lot more recently. I feel like also just in general, a lot more people have been a lot more critical of the Jets.
You just got to watch the game and see how many pucks he gives away and how he's just not particularly good at one-on-one defense, and he doesn't create much offense.
Exactly. The thing is though, also like most people were like, obviously the regular season is longer than the playoffs, and also DeMello only played four or five games in the playoffs because he got injured. And of course those games he was playing with DeMello, not with DeMello, with Morrissey.
Yeah.
But
are
you look
you
at
about to make the argument that we're 4-4 at like 4 wins with DeMello, 0-4 without?
Well, what I'm more trying to get at is that, I mean, all of the regular season, DeMello was put on the role of being Logan Stanley's babysitter, and Morrissey played top minutes with Tucker Poolman, who is also certainly not a top pair guy, and so no one really got to see really the value that DeMello brings, in just in the fact that like he is able to stabilize Morrissey and actually make him much better of a partner, like just having a pair that works. And so then, you don't, a lot of people don't see that value that DeMello brings. And then of course, you see Stanley doing better than expected. And I think a decent chunk of that is the fact that he's playing with a really safe guy in Dylan DeMello. It just goes to show, people don't pick up on DeMello's value because,
Yeah. I like, for me, there's two untradeable contracts on the Jets. One is Wheeler because of money and age. The other is Morrissey because of performance. I think Morrissey is better than what the models show because he was saddled with Nate Boyu for most of the season.
That too.
But he was bad. Like, there's no other way to put it. Like, I don't think he's the worst defenseman in the league, which is what the models kind of point to. But he was bad. And the only time that he was above water was when he played with DeMello for like a 10 to 12 game stretch. Yeah. And I don't think Morrissey DeMello is a Stanley Cup winning first pair.
I'm not
under any illusion.
It's better than nothing, though.
DeMello at 3 makes Morrissey at 6 worthwhile, or at least passable. And so, yeah, if you got Dougie Hamilton, I'm more than willing to let Dylan DeMello go.
Oh, for sure.
I'm still not willing to let Dylan DeMello go, because then you got Hamilton, Pionk, DeMello down your right side. That's one hell of a right side.
That is a Stanley Cup right side. But
yes.
But yes, like I think this is the argument about DeMello, is that he's a stabilizing force. And I don't care if he doesn't score a goal all season next year. It's about what he does with zone exit. Tyler Pitlick is a sneaky good pick for like a potentially like a guy that can be down on your fourth line, maybe your third line, and add a little scoring punch. But I mean, he's way off from when he actually scored any goals. But it's like one of those like, hey, if he makes the team.
Yeah.
Sure.
For me, looking at their list right now, I mean, they didn't really give a crazy amount, like anything really obvious on who you should take, kind of thing. The only other players I'm looking at on the Coyotes who maybe stand out for me is if you want to take the chance on a UFA, like Michael Bunting is an option that if you were wanting to try and sign a guy, sure. And then Christian Fischer is obviously an option, but he, I think he's a guy who could play in your, middle six kind of thing. But yeah, the only issue I have with Pitlick is that like he's kind of a role player guy, which like I guess some would argue you need. I'm more of a, I mean, it really depends on how the draft and everything goes and how many draft picks they have. But if they have guys that are able to step into that fourth line, like young guys, I am always of the mind that you should put those guys in first. But Tyler Pitt, like it's one of those picks where I'm like, looking at their list, I don't see a reason to make a fuss about
once
that.
Aiden Hill got traded, I think it was over.
So I was underwhelmed, obviously, by what was available. In my mock draft, I went off the board and took Dryden Hunt. So there was not a lot there.
Sorry,
I thought that Dryden Hunt, he's played, I think, around 30 games each of the last 3 seasons. He was with Florida for a few years and with Arizona this year. I went with him. He's had good defensive impact every year. That's the only reason. And otherwise, there just wasn't anything there that was like, okay, I got to pick this guy. Other option would have been Ilya Lyubushkin on right defense.
Now you're getting now you're going full elite prospects, like deep dive on us, Brian. That's crazy. I was really hoping this moment that we're watching now with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp out there, that Gary Payton would get up there and talk shit about Michael Jordan again, and just to see him do it.
That'd be
great. I tired out Michael Jordan. I want to see him do it in front of a crowd, and then Michael Jordan just show up and be angry. I know it's a different sport. I don't care. I think it would have been funny. Yeah. The fact that they sent them up there to announce John Quenneville. What? Why? The wrong Quenneville from Chicago. Also, the wrong decade for a Quenneville from Chicago.
Yeah.
What about Jonas Donskoy, though, guys?
This is a good pick. Their second line is going to be excellent.
Yeah, I need to look and see what their lineup kind of looks like line wise, just based on that. What's up?
He almost pronounced Donskoy's name correctly. Almost.
I like the pick because there wasn't once they
once Graves got moved.
Once Johnson waived his no move, then they were able to go protect their three-star defenseman, and they moved Ryan Graves. Then it was like, okay, well, you're picking between Jonas Donskoy, who has been a pretty good offensive player for most of his career, or the other option that I might have thought of, who had awesome underlying numbers in a tiny role this year, was Jacob McDonald on defense, but ultimately go with the proving guy, I think, there in Donskoy.
You wouldn't have looked at Saad or Comfer?
Well, Comfer, I don't think Comfer is very good, to be honest with you.
I don't know enough. That's why I'm asking.
I don't very much like Comfer as a player, and Saad is a UFA. So
Saad is UFA?
Yes.
Oh, gotta look at those things.
So I got a request from Liz to read this, and I think this is for Brady's benefit. Don't forget, Chris, that it's a well-known fact that taller defensemen take longer to develop.
Man, incredible.
And also, she's projecting Keith, Nurse, Barry, and Risto as a top 4 in Edmonton.
Yes!
That's a Stanley Cup winning top 4. I don't know about you guys.
Those are 4 players.
Oh, man. It is a well-known fact that taller players take longer to develop. That is true.
We really want to tank for Shane Wright and go Connor McDavid, Shane Wright down the middle.
Do you think they brought in Keith to basically, for him and Nurse to be like, no, I can play more minutes tonight, and just have a minutes battle between each other? This is the first, I think, really, this is an interesting signing, Alexiak in Seattle.
Yeah, one of the things and this was one of the things that I was perplexed by when Vegas did theirs, and they took David England, and
Derek England.
Derek. Did I say that wrong? Did I
You
say it
said
wrong?
David.
I'm. Did I? I thought I said Derek. Maybe, whatever. Derek England. One of the things that I was confused when that happened was like if, especially with him, because he was like a Vegas guy, and like he was supposed, like, he lived in Vegas in the off season or whatever. So it was very obvious that like they were going to have him on the team. But like, why wouldn't you like basically do a handshake agreement, take a player, and then just sign them when they become UFA? And so like again, it doesn't really matter because you're getting Jamie Alexiak, and then the same thing with Adam Larson. Um, so it doesn't really matter if you do that. But like in my mind, I'm always like, why wouldn't you just say, okay, we'll talk to you in a couple days. Um, we'll wait for free agency to open, and we'll actually take a pick from your team, and then that way it benefits us. It benefits your team, your new team, to have another guy, especially a guy that you already know. I don't know if that would be seen as like tampering or anything like that. If there's like
It's
special
not. This question came up on ESPN did Twitter Spaces, and Greg Wyshynski answered this question. He basically said like a lot of teams basically said until that contract is signed, nothing is guaranteed. So even though Seattle had this exclusive window and they had an agreement with Alexiak, maybe somebody else comes in and ups
and
their
give them.
offer. And so,
Yeah,
and then you lose the player, and then you pick somebody that you don't actually want in addition to whoever.
yeah, it is a bit risky, of course, but my mind always just goes, it's, I haven't really looked at Dallas and seen what they have available, so I don't know if there was anything
There
necessarily.
wasn't much like
Oh, they had that Adam Masterin guy
Adam
who,
Mascarin.
yeah, he apparently is like, he was point per game in the AHL, is looking to be really really good, just a bit of a late bloomer guy.
Yeah.
And he seemed like the most the one that made the most sense, other than Alexiak, if you can get him signed, of course. But honestly, like
They
I'm
the Alexiak deal is the worst deal that Seattle signed. I think it's the only deal
What
where
was
it's
the
like this is not good. It's
what was the
five.
contract?
It's 5 years, 4.6 per.
Oh wow, that's
what was it?
That's
Repeat
rich,
that,
right?
please. What was that you said?
5 years,
he's
4.6.
28. That's a lot for a 28-year-old bottom four defenseman.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he's solidly middle pair. I think it's,
I agree.
Yeah. Um
but he's a player that may not age well given the way he plays.
I thought, yeah, no kidding. I thought Ben Bishop might be a guy they take a swing at.
If they
Just
drafted
for
Ben Bishop, he would get hurt. He would like pull a groin on the way to the stage.
But that's
Like
LTR. That's LTIR though.
yeah, I mean, if he ends up injured, he ends up on LTIR, whatever, I guess. Like I think the upside there is a lot, and there wasn't a lot to pick from. But I guess signing Jamie Alexiak kind of makes sense. I don't like giving term like that to guys who aren't, even if they are a superstar. Like you've seen what's happened to guys like Eric Carlson, Drew Doughty. If they're not that good, it's probably even more likely to not be great.
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about it knowing the price now? How do you feel about it not coming to Winnipeg, because he's obviously been a favorite of Chevy's for a long time?
Yeah, I don't want them to do that. I'd rather see them go after. I wanted them to trade for Vince Dunn before the expansion draft, and
Yeah.
now that we know the way it shook down, like you don't know that at the time, but
The one thing I'll say in regards to that contract, while it might be a little bit rich, at the same time, it's like Seattle does have the room to, like, they have a blank cap, so it's not really a huge deal to sign it. I mean, it is 5 years, and of course, we look at Vegas, and Vegas is already how many years in, and they're already contending.
They
Things like
might be
that.
18 million over the cap right now if we look
Exactly,
carefully.
but honestly, at this time, I think if if Seattle wasn't going to take him and give him that contract, I would imagine his number would probably be a bit smaller. I'm sure Seattle didn't fight as hard as say any other team would, because again, like I said, they have the cap space, and it seems like they're going pretty young with
Yeah.
the rest of their roster. So I don't hate that as a guy to have on your team, and like he'll probably be an assistant captain. He'll probably just be a guy there to actually try and teach defense to the younger defensemen. Because he's pretty good defensively. Am I wrong, Brian?
No, I mean, like he's fine. He's
good
pretty
enough.
decent
He's good enough.
defensively. Like
Yeah.
he's above average defensively.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say the nice thing. I'd rather have Logan Stanley than Jamie Oleksiak on that deal, for sure.
Yeah.
I said a nice thing about Logan Stanley. My contractual obligation has been fulfilled.
I think
Are you
Oleksiak is Stanley's ceiling.
Yeah.
I agree. But I think Stanley, like that deal, is why I'm glad I don't have Oleksiak.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying on the same deal, you'd rather have Stanley. I thought you were saying you'd give Stanley that deal, and you'd rather have him as a player. And I'm like, what? Excuse me?
No. I would rather have Stanley than Oleksiak if that was the price for Oleksiak.
Got it. My bad. Sorry.
I was saying before, for the Jets, I would rather have a guy like Vince Dunn. Like I would have traded for him before the expansion draft. Like the most it sounds like any GM offered was a 3rd round pick for him. I would have easily gone to a second. Like I don't even know if that gets it done, but I would have at least offered that. I would have. Everyone knows I would have. Everyone knows I would have protected DeMello. They weren't going to do that. So, I mean, if they're going to go Morrissey, then Pionk, and protecting Vince Dunn, again, I don't know if Seattle would have selected Stanley. Even if you do, then you got Vince Dunn and you got Ville Heinola as well on the left side. You suddenly look pretty decent there. Or you could expose Morrissey as well. They were never going to pick Morrissey.
The thing regarding the 3rd round pick for Dunn, I'm pretty sure it wasn't what was offered for Dunn. I think that was a report came out saying that they were willing to do Dunn for a 3rd.
Oh, really?
I think I don't think that's what they were offered. I think it's because I mean, if you're St. Louis, you take that right away because you're going to lose Dunn either way, right?
And then you lose Tarasenko, which I mean isn't necessarily they probably wouldn't have taken Tarasenko based on the way this draft went.
Yeah,
I don't know if the medicals on him are good. I heard some weird things today. So like I imagine they did a deep dive there.
Oh, and it would have been probably like Zach Sanford or someone like that.
Or Barbashev or something.
The one thing I'll say about the Jets is that
Barbashev was protected.
Yeah, that's who they protected over Senko. The one thing I'll say about the Jets is I'm like, maybe you can say the leaving DeMello exposed and protecting Stanley. You can call this being creative, but I thought that there's a real lack of creativity for the Jets. And again, like seeing the the big push of trades going into the roster freeze there, like there were clearly some players who were available for dirt cheap. Like the fact that you could get Jared McCann for a 7th and a B level prospect is pretty nuts. Like that's a player who like I would be happy if he was on the Jets, or I'd be happy.
I would take him over Andrew Kopp right now. They're
for
pretty
sure.
Equivalent players.
And that's the other thing too.
Kopp is just going to cost a lot more.
Yeah, and like I would have loved to see a little bit more creativity, whether that be trading Kopp in order to free up a spot for Appleton, and you get some assets back for Kopp, or whether that be exposing Morrissey and bluff, like trying to get them to call your bluff. I strongly doubt that they went to Blake Wheeler and asked him to waive his no move, but that's something that should have probably been done, because again, and you can sell that to a cat. Like if Blake Wheeler is such a stand-up guy, which we all think he is, I think he's a great guy. I think that he would look at that and go, you know what? I think that that's a good thing to try and keep this team together. If I really believe in this team, that's something I absolutely would do and risk that. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where I would have liked to see a little bit more creativity, whether that be who they exposed or what they did going into the roster freeze. Sorry, let's.
I'm just laughing because Beast Mode just is like,
Yeah.
when he's announcing Yarncrook, he's like, it's Callie, yo.
It's
Like,
Callie.
I'm like,
Oh,
like
man.
that's pretty. And look, he's just like not stopping. He's just going.
That's funny.
I love you, Marshawn.
Marshawn Lynch
the-
is like Marshawn Lynch is my spirit animal.
It's just amazing. Sorry, Brady.
Yeah,
You got
but
upstaged by Beast Mode.
It's
You know,
it's
tough luck.
honestly that's I wouldn't have it any other way. It's the natural order of things. But yeah, I don't know.
So
Creativity.
I think on Vince Dunn, there's a couple things. I think the price of a third was now. That's what his price was. But I think at the trade deadline, I heard it was higher than that.
Oh yes, yeah.
It was high actually from what was reported at the
Yeah.
trade deadline. It's like
So
a first
I don't
and a
get that.
prospect or something.
I don't think the Jets could have gotten him, and it would have made sense with DeMello, Morrissey, and Stanley. You would have had to, and Pionk. Like, there's somebody that's like an odd person out there. And then if you make that trade and then you lose him in the draft and you keep Appleton, is that worth like a third or whatever you would have had to pay for Vince Dunn? I don't think so. I just think it just wasn't going to work based on the prices there. St. Louis is in so much trouble right now as a team.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been on the down since their cup win, and it's just getting worse and worse.
Speaking of which, there's the pick, Vince Dunn.
Yeah.
I think the Jets are after St. Louis, if I remember seeing correctly.
Vince Dunn is an excellent pick for them. He is going to anchor their second line, and I think he's the one RFA they really took that I think they're going to sign for sure.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I think if Seattle's smart, which it seems to be that they are a pretty analytically driven team. I mean, despite some of their picks, that's what the rumors were. Despite some of their picks, that's what the rumors were. I think Vince Dunn is absolutely a super smart.
There's the Appleton pick.
Yeah,
you're a little ahead of us, I think.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
But yeah, I was gonna ask, what did you guys think of that versus Tarasenko? Because like honestly, I think that Tarasenko is one of those ones where like I could see them have taking him and then just flipping him immediately for assets. But I think that Vince Dunn is a guy you shouldn't pass up on.
No brainer for me, honestly. Like any assets you get back for Tarasenko are not worth Vince Dunn. Vince Dunn he's 24 years old, I think, and he's done extremely well in albeit a bottom four kind of role. On the left side, when he moved over to the right side and started playing with Scandella, he struggled, but don't play him on his right side. It's a simple solution. And that guy's got a mountain of upside. He's got, for sure, top pairing upside.
Also, isn't Scandella like not fantastic?
Yeah, I'm not particularly fond on him.
I'm not big on him either.
Mm-hmm.
And like, but you know, I think the reason St. Louis is in trouble is I've never been a big Binnington guy, and I think that contract is awful for what he brings to the team because, you know, he's going to knock himself out for 10 games by getting into fights with other goalies for no reason. And then I just don't think he's like outside of that heater he went on. He's not that great. So, yeah, you have Ryan O'Reilly, but it looks like they're going to lose Jaden Schwartz. It looks like Tarasenko's gone. And in a bad way, too. Like, those medical departures are not good departures for attracting other free agents to your team. And so you just think, like, yeah, they have O'Reilly and Parayko, and, like, those are great assets to build around. But Parayko looks pretty damaged right now in terms of his injury history, and there's not much else around O'Reilly that you're excited about. You know, Sammy Blaze is fine, you know, whatever.
It's weird.
Could be a lottery, like in the sweepstakes for Shane Wright next year.
Mm-hmm. It's weird because I remember back when they first traded Stastny to us, a lot of people were commending Doug Armstrong on being able to just go, okay, you know, maybe this isn't our year. Let's sell off a couple of guys, retool, and then of course it worked out for them going forward when they of course won the cup. But ever since that, like that's the last thing I can remember them doing like super good that I remember being like that's a good good move for the GM, because since then, like one of the biggest things that I will never get over is the fact that they traded for Justin Falk, who is an offensive defenseman, doesn't have great underlying numbers, and then immediately signed him for like 7 years for like I can't remember what the actual like dollar amount was,
Like
but that
around
was
6.
around
Hang
six,
on,
like way too much for him, and also that was at the like either mid season, like November maybe I want to say it was.
oh yeah, that
Um,
was
and it was they traded for him, signed him right away, and that was the year that it was
Petrangelo. Yeah,
Petrangelo's last year, which basically essentially like locked them into being like, well, we don't have money for Petrangelo now. It's like, what are you doing? Like you can trade for that guy as a rental, sure. Give him a maybe a smaller contract if you really want to keep him, but like why is that? Why do you have to commit that money right away to him? And that was I think the start of the downfall. As soon as I mean, of course, I think they won the cup that year, but as soon as Pietrangelo leaves, like that's the start of the downfall. And then, of course, now you get Tarasenko and his medical issues and all that, and him wanting to leave, and it's just not looking good for the old Blues. But I'm happy as a central team. It's good to see
believe they
one
won
of
the
them
cup
fall.
the year before they had Falk.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did they?
they traded for him last year. Like last year, like the 2019-20 season.
So Pietrangelo walked the season after they won the cup. So they won the cup, played a season.
Yes.
Okay, my bad. Either way,
Uh,
bad from in my opinion.
Yes.
All right.
Makes it worse. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it makes it worse, but
It's time to talk about Mason Appleton in Seattle. I actually really am excited for him in Seattle. I think he has an honest chance to get second line minutes in Seattle. And at worst, he's going to be in the same position he was in on the Jets, which I think he played pretty well. I think he showed a lot of flair on the PK, and he showed some ability in those couple games that they put him on Power Play 1, which, as we all know, on JetsCentric is actually Power Play 2. He showed a lot of versatility, and I think on a team where you're basically on a team with a bunch of middle six forwards, he has a real opportunity to shine. I actually think he has an outside shot of putting in 20 this year.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I've been we always like to toot our horns about our third line players and what potential they have up the lineup, but I see him as like a almost like similar to how Joel Armia was when he went over to the Canadians, where he started play second line minutes, still was good and responsible defensively, just kind of played that power forward kind of game. I really liked Joel Armia back in the day, and I really liked what Appleton brought to the table here. And I think that, I wish him the best of luck in Seattle. And I think he's got the opportunity to make the best of. So it's on him. See if he can, capture the moment.
Yeah, I think it's a pick that kind of does make sense for Seattle. Like they wanted a forward that had a little bit of upside to fill their middle six. So they decided to go with that over the 28-year-old DeMello. As much as DeMello could have, played on their top pair. I think this is a team with the Kraken that wants to kind of build for the future. They're not trying to win anything this year. So in that case, maybe a DeMello doesn't necessarily fit into their plans. If they were trying to win now, I think DeMello is the obvious pick there. But having that not be the case, Appleton is 25, and maybe in 2 to 3 years when they want to compete, Appleton can still be making an impact where, by then DeMello's probably fallen off.
I think this team is every decision is with the mindset 3 years from now we should be a contending team.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, if they don't sign Larson, I think we're having a different conversation about Dylan DeMello tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think for Appleton, I don't know if he's actually there 3 years from now. But I think they're really happy to have him play second or third line minutes for a year at 900 and then have RFA rights on him where they can either flip him for assets or sign him to a reasonable deal.
Hmm.
I mean, there's only upside here for Mason Appleton.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
was never going to make the top 6 on the Jets. And now he has a real chance to potentially carve that out.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and looking at the Appleton versus DeMello thing, and then bringing Larson into the picture, I guess you can kind of look at both what the Jets had available and the Oilers had available, and like you either go, like either like Dom Cahoon or like Tyler Benson, and then you take DeMello, or you go Mason Appleton and you sign Larson. And honestly, I think that's maybe the better. I think they might have went, if you're making it, putting those two teams together and being like, we're taking a forward from one and a D from one. I don't think that's necessarily a bad choice to go with what they did.
Captain of
Yeah.
the Kraken just selected. First of all, can I shout out this medical dude that is like showing more personality than the host for this draft?
Did they say captain for sure?
No, they didn't
No?
say
Oh.
captain. That's me
Okay.
interjecting
he's
Captain Mark Jr.
He's coming out. I don't think they're trading him. Like he's coming on for the presentation and everything. I don't think
But
they're
don't you think you
flipping
could
him.
get a good
They might-
pick
They
for
could at the
retaining
end of the
salary?
season. I think at the trade deadline they might flip him.
Yeah. See where they're at by then.
But like he makes 6.75. If you retain 3, you don't think you could get like a first or a second for him? Certainly a second.
Oh, you could certainly.
Oh, for sure.
The way teams pay at the trade deadline for rentals, I don't know. I think in terms of picks anyway, I think you could probably. You know what? Thinking about that though, it's probably a late first round pick if you're getting a first round pick then. So I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't think they're trading him this offseason anyway. Like if they do trade him, it'll be at the
immediately
deadline,
dump
I
him.
think.
And that's nothing against Giordano,
but
I freaking, after what Ken Holland has done this last week, I think I make an immediate call to him and be like, "Hey, I got this guy, and I'll retain 3."
You know him pretty well.
Yeah, if you call Ken Holland, you're like, "I'll retain 3 on Giordano." By the way, you don't have anyone playing on your right side anymore. That's not a bad move for Edmonton.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a bad move for Edmonton, but it's not, like, given how much trouble they're in.
He's better than Duncan Keith. Say that for sure.
He's still a good defenseman, but
yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. There's a lot of teams that I have trouble figuring out where they're at in their. Are you going for it, or what's your deal? And it's like with Edmonton, they should be trying to build a team to go for it because they have the best player in the world and Leon Draisaitl. But at the same time, it's like the rest of the team is so half baked that it's like trading for 1 or 2 guys here and there. And then also the guys they're trading for, like Duncan Keith, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he will be better in a reduced role when he's not playing top competition. He's on like a second pair or maybe a third.
I guess they're going to put him on the top defensive pair.
He wasn't even playing though the top competition this year. I think Zadorov was taking tougher competition away from Keith this year.
I'm pretty sure Keith is still playing like almost 20 minutes a night.
He was
could be wrong.
21
but
to
the quality of
22.
competition. I think Zadorov was taking a lot of the top matchups though.
Wasn't it
still
Keith
your quality of
Murphy?
competition? It might have been, but ultimately though, that's a conversation that it's like it's overused because even as a middle pairing defenseman, you're playing everybody, right? Like as a top
Yeah.
pairing defenseman, you're still playing the bottom of the lineup sometimes. You're not always playing against top lines. That's not really the way it works. So people use that kind of in a bad faith argument a lot. So pardon me. Pardon me. Speaking too quickly there, I guess. Keith is not a good player anymore. He just isn't.
I agree.
Yeah,
But
I mean everyone agrees. I actually have a lot of room for them saying like we need somebody with playoff experience in the room. I'm not usually a rings in the room guy, but maybe I could see that. But the problem is that they're going to play. They didn't have them retain any salary.
and
He's going
they
to play
paid
up the line. Yeah,
they paid a third on top of Caleb Jones.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
how do you
so-
pay extra?
So that's why I don't think they're going to keep Giordano, is because GMs, especially Ken Holland, are doing the dumbest things we've ever seen with their defensive lineups, and so there'll be a market for him. This
Yeah.
Curtis McDermott. Can we talk about this for a second? When
Yeah.
Paul McDermott is on your coaching staff, I was like, this is a strange nepotism pick, isn't it? Like, this is literally selected one of the coach's sons. This
It's
is
very
weird.
NHL of them to do that. Nepotism is
It
huge
is.
in the NHL. It's I'm not surprised. I mean, what did they have available? Like, who else was
Oh, I mean,
Blake
they didn't-
Lizotte was to me.
Blake
Lizotte was the
Lizotte, yeah.
slam dunk pick. Like Blake Lizotte had good results this year, playing mostly third line minutes. So like he was easily my guy. Like I thought he could have easily stepped into the third line center role and actually been good. But
or on D, they could have went with like Cale Clegg if they wanted to go
could have
young
gone.
and-
Yeah, Cale Clegg. Like he has had maybe a cup of tea in the NHL, but he was.
Or even Athanasiou wouldn't have been an awful choice either. Like if you want to get a speedy.
I'm not
winger.
a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Athanasiou, but like I just think he's pretty bad defensively. But
Can we just pour one out for this poor woman that has to announce the Sharks pick?
True. Let's go. Who? I mean, what?
A friend of mine,
Cousin of Nikolai Ehlers. It says cousin of Jets for Nikolai
Whoa!
Ehlers.
Okay, we love this guy now.
We love this guy.
Okay.
True. Let's
Alexander
go.
True is our favorite draft pick tonight. A friend of mine runs a hockey podcast, and he's like, they should just select Patrick Marleau just for the fun of it, and because he's a UFA, they're not going to sign him. It's like they should have, or they should have selected Pass, just like full on Pass.
I saw someone, I can't remember which podcast it was, but like they said just for the banter, it'd be really funny if they took from the Capitals, if they just took Ovechkin, just even though he wouldn't sign or anything like that, just to be like he wasn't a Capital for his entire career. That would be a little just for the banter. But
can I say though, Tony on Jets Twitter, abrasive but astute.
Abrasive but astute.
Just DM me saying like he can't believe that this is the team that Seattle is drafting without any side deals, and I just wanted to put that out there because I completely agree with it, and I don't get it myself. Like there's just better players available on most for at least half of their picks. It's like, wait, who?
It's not that they made any mistakes, like in terms of selecting an over the hill overpaid player. Like we can talk about that Alexiak contract. They didn't make a bad pick, but yeah, I mean there's at least 10 picks. You're like, why? It doesn't.
They lost out on opportunity cost.
They're also might be just making picks to get to the floor. and just weaponizing the cap space. But
Could
even then, it doesn't make a ton of
there's
sense.
still better guys available though, even at similar
Yeah.
contracts. Like I talked about Blake Lizotte. Yeah, he's 1 year left at 925,000. You took Curtis McDermott, who was at 875,000, and like I don't think they're worried about $50,000. Like, if you're worried about $50,000, you got bigger problems. But
in fairness to
is,
Seattle, when you go back and look at the Vegas draft, who they got, there was a bunch of people there that you're like, why did you select them? But then the side deals came announced.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. And you're like, okay, no problem. And so that's, I think we're all waiting for that right now. What is the side deal? Because you can't really put together a third and fourth line on this team.
You can
put together a top two lines.
With the Vegas draft, they announced the side deals as the picks were happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the show over? Is that it?
I'm not sure.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I guess that is it.
I think that's it.
Damn.
Oh no, that's it. Holy crap.
That's it. And they took Cole Lind from from Caps,
that one made sense. There was nothing else there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has NHL upside for sure. But what?
I think overall pretty disappointing. Like,
yeah, there's a lot that they missed out on, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the MVP of the night is Marshawn Lynch. I mean, that's not good. That's not good for the Kraken. Just really quickly, now that the broadcast is over, what's your take for the Jets going forward? Now that we can finally end the Demo Stanley talk, what do you do now as you head into the draft? And knowing that right defensemen are coming at a premium with them signing Larson and taking Alexiak off the market.
Sign Dougie Hamilton. I don't care how much it costs. I just want him. I don't care. I want him on my team.
It would be nice. I don't know. Like, the Jets are going to try and win in the next year, maybe two. Past that, I think their window is slant. Like, I think their window might be shut as it is. But they're going to try and win. If you want to do that, you have to fill a top four left defense spot. At the very least, bump Morrissey down to a position where he's not trying to do everything.
Or get him a partner.
And then you fill your bottom pair with, I don't know, some combination of Heinola, Stanley, Samberg, Kovacevic, whatever, what have you. Maybe add a cheap UFA or something like that on the right side. But I don't think their forward group, as it is a contender either. Like, you talk about Ehlers and Scheifele. You're probably going to want to get a little bit more out of Scheifele and probably Kyle Connor as well. You need Pierre-Luc Dubois to step it up in a big way. I think you're maybe slightly above average in your top six. Like, that might be an unpopular opinion, but I don't think they drive nearly enough play. Like, the only guy that's really doing that in an elite level is Nikolai Ehlers. Scheifele can still do it, although he's struggled mightily defensively for the last 3 seasons now. Kyle Connor, same thing.
Kyle Connor's not there to drive play. He's there to finish.
No, that's exactly right. But I just have concerns everywhere. Like, even like the bottom six,
except goalie. You don't have any concerns at goalie.
Of course. Your bottom six, you've got like Lowry's a decent third line center. Like, I think he'd be a great fourth line center. I think you're probably re-signing Kopp. I don't know if he slides onto your second line left wing. I think he can play.
Kent in the chat says sign Pat Maroon to guarantee ourselves a couple.
Yeah,
that's the only thing you could do.
Correlation is causation. You know,
it's just science.
Yeah, what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking to see how we use our youth in this year. I'm always yelling about how we're going to use the youth, and I'm really interested to see where Cole Perfetti slots in, because I think that this year he should be getting time on the NHL roster. I really hope they don't Vesseline in him and just put him on the fourth line and sit him in the press box. I really hope they don't. I don't think they will. I think they realize that he's a really useful player. What I would hope for, because I think the way Paul Maurice likes to trot his third line out, I don't see him fitting onto that line personally. So I would love to see him on a line with, like, I don't know, like, let's just say Dubois and Wheeler. Like, I think if you go Connor, Scheifele, Ehlers, Perfetti, Dubois and Wheeler, like at least give it a shot. So if he's ready, of course, if he's ready for that. I'm just interested to see what he can do at an NHL level, of course.
If he's ready, I want to see him play with Ehlers. Like, I want to see the dynamic skating, all that from Ehlers, the shot, the absolute elite talent combined with the absolute dominant smarts of Cole Perfetti. And he's got a great shot as well. Unbelievable passer. I think that just could be a very good complement, like those two players together. Maybe it's too soon. I'm not sure. But I would like to see it tried.
You can tinker.
You can try things. And even let's just looking elsewhere in the league. He's a year older, but Cole Caulfield, just looking to see how he was able to go in, play on this, play immediately on second, first line minutes kind of thing. It's not crazy to say that these guys can step in and make a difference, Right. And it, that was the one thing that was really touted about Perfetti, is that he's really got the it's, everyone always says hockey IQ, but he supposedly seems to be the guy who is very quick with it, and sees the play very ahead of where it is, that ahead of most other players. So I think that he got better and better. He at the end got some time to play against, he played against men all year instead of playing against, OHL guys, which honestly, probably was really, really helpful in his development. Kind of just a happy accident that the OHL never started up. But yeah, I'm just really excited for him. I think he can be a difference maker, and the Jets kind of need those types of players these days.
Yeah, I'll say this is PLD, put up or shut up year. If he's PLD from 2 years ago, this is an above average forward unit. If he's not, it's below average. Cole Perfetti has to play with the team. Otherwise, he has to play in the OHL, and that makes no sense whatsoever.
He can't
play in the
demolish everyone in the OHL.
Yeah. I think you're right with the Cole Caulfield comparison. The Ehlers combo makes a ton of sense, because what Montreal did with Caulfield is they made him not have to worry about zone entry. They were just be fast and try to finish. And use your hockey IQ, right? And so they put Suzuki out there with him, so they didn't have to worry about zone entry. That's what you do when you put Ehlers there.
Yeah.
I think the crazy thing they should do is they should offer seat Cal Foote. Because the one thing that happened today is they didn't get rid of Tyler Johnson. They didn't get rid of any contracts off the champs. They got no money.
What are you giving Cal Foote, though? Are you you don't know that he's a certain NHL player? Are you going to give him enough money that's okay, well, we're not going to match
2.5?
this? No, that's
how good is Cal Foote?
You don't think that's enough?
You don't know what Cal Foote is at this point.
Oh, I'm thinking of Nolan Foote. My bad. Sorry, I knew Nolan Foote was not as good, but Cal Foote is supposed to be pretty good.
Cal Foote, he's a good prospect, but he's so I think he's gonna get I don't even know how many games did he play this year.
Not many, but because he played on that team, though.
But if you give him anything, can they do anything about that?
Match?
If you give him $1.5 million, if you give him 1.5,
well, yeah, I mean, you can go up to 10. I think it's 10% over the cap in the off season. But if it's not Cal Foote, if you're signing a guy or if you're getting rid of a guy at say $1.5 million, you're still replacing him with a contract at somewhere between league minimum, which I think is 700,000 and 925,000 on a two-way deal, right? So you are still replacing that salary, which isn't a big difference. So I don't think, and I don't think you're giving.
I know
a
if they
guy
offer sheet Cal Foot, like Victor Hedman will go down with an injury all of a sudden, and like like we know like the weird shenanigans will happen because Breezeball is a great GM, but I think that's the kind of aggressive moves Chevy needs to do to address right D, not just this year, but in the next 3 years. And that's why I was like, offer sheet Cal Foot, look at Montour, like get out there and do something aggressive that isn't Rasmus Ristolainen. Like, because this is I think our stream no, I don't know what happened. Oh, stream failed.
Doing is the stream
hey,
there he is
my internet went down, so I think
okay.
the stream might have ended there.
No.
It still says we're live. I'm just looking at
but
it,
it
but
might
we're also
catch
a bit
up
behind. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Well, we'll see if we're still on.
Oh no, you're still going. We're still going, I think.
Okay. Yeah, well, we should wrap up anyways, but I think this whole like right D, not just addressing it now, but for the future. Yes, Dougie Hamilton's the way to go, but this is a chance to be creative when teams are really up against it, because all Seattle did was to select a lot of nobody and didn't create a lot of room for some of these other teams. And so with Perreault and Stastny not on the books right now, Jets actually have a little bit of cap space to do some damage.
Mm-hmm. I would love Hamilton, but like honestly, it probably won't happen just because
it's not going to happen.
There's
I think
we do have good museums, but still.
I think they got to still add a play driving forward. Like, if it's not in the tops, like I think they got to add a top 6 play driving forward. Like
who is there anyone in specific you're looking at, or
Thomas Tatar?
Oh, no, I agree. Thomas, I totally forgot about him. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just he's expensive. I like him.
I don't think he'll
be
that expensive though. Like, he was healthy scratched for much of the playoffs. I don't think he'll be like he's going to cost like north of 4, but
I think
he's easily worth that.
5. I'd give him that. I think he's worth that over. If you can get a
he's not going to get
super
huge
long
term.
Yeah,
if he's not going to get huge term.
I'd give him 5 over 4.
Or 4 over 5 too long.
I think it's.
How old is he? Is he 28?
He's 30.
He's 30.
Oh, he's 30.
Yeah. Yikes. I don't know, if you're going for it, you have to go for it. But he's still been such a good player the last couple of years, so I'm not worried about too much of a drop off. Yeah, they got to add. I just think there's so many positions they need to add that contending this year probably isn't going to happen. So, like, I don't know.
I don't know if I need them to contend. I want to see them make the playoffs again. Mm-hmm. And I think the Central after Colorado has a lot of holes in it. Mm-hmm. Like, Dallas should be better than what we saw last year, but Chicago's going to be bad still.
Preds are going to be bad.
Louis feels like they haven't taken any steps forward. So, I mean,
Minnesota's been good.
You're going to have Colorado and Minnesota, and then it's just going to be a big toss-up for the next.
Yeah,
like
Nashville
maybe
feels like they're
even
in
Winnipeg in third. Like, there's not a lot. The Central's weak aside from
really
Colorado
fell off.
And Minnesota.
Central really fell off. Looking at the chats, NRG said Reinhardt would be a good option to go for as well, and I agree. I'd agree with that. But that's a trade. You have to trade for him, right? Is he? Or is he? What is he again? I'm forgetting all.
Who are you talking about? Ryan Hartman?
Reinhardt, like Sam Reinhardt.
Oh, Sam Reinhardt.
I thought you said Ryan Hart.
Sorry, I botched that. My bad. My bad, guys.
No big deal. I think Sam Reinhardt's going to cost a ton.
Because he's still under contract and everything.
That's a big. I think one more year. He's a UFA after this coming season. That's a big swing if you're going to go for Sam Reinhart.
That's going to cost like
I'm
Kyle
not
Connor and some other
necessarily.
stuff.
No, not
Really?
that much.
No, no,
He's
no,
he's
no.
he's going to be valued less than Connor.
Yeah,
He'll be
he
a
went.
first. He'll be a first and a good prospect. I don't.
Strange.
I wouldn't necessarily be like if you're going for it. I guess go for it.
He's
Just don't half-ass it.
Is he he's an RFA, is he not?
No, he's a UFA after this year.
I'm looking right now. It says he's an RFA right now.
Yeah, he's an
Right now-
RFA this year.
Oh
This
yeah,
year,
no,
yeah,
you're right.
that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
no.
He's,
Sorry.
he's an RFA right now, so therefore he would be
I was thinking
an offer sheet guy.
I was
He is
thinking of how
arb
many
rights though,
years
so
he
it
was
could be
away.
a lot.
He's 1 year away from unrestricted free agency. Like if he gets a 1 year contract,
if he arbs it, yeah.
yeah. So like you have his rights for 1 more year at minimum.
Mm-hmm. Well, but that also means that he's got a lot less value because to Buffalo, I'm sure he's like, I'm getting the frig out of here as soon as possible. So he's probably going to do that. So so Buffalo probably knows that he's an asset that's going to be leaving within the next year or two, and they've got to get something for him. I don't know. I think that's either someone you can try offer sheeting, or you could hopefully try and get for cheap, just because Buffalo is probably looking at him going, he's going to leave here for nothing in a year.
He's not going to be cheap, and I think the league is going to covet a player like that.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I think even not more so than Eichel, but I think he's going to be more targeted by more teams because he's more affordable than Eichel will be.
That's true.
I don't think many teams have what you need for Eichel.
I had this crazy thought that Seattle could build a really good team that was still way under the cap, and then make a couple side deals, get some draft picks, and then use those picks to trade for Jack Eichel.
That's what I was thinking too.
Use those picks and maybe their first round pick this year and like a player they weren't going to use or something, and trade for Jack Eichel. I thought that could have been a lot of fun. Obviously,
they still could.
No, I don't think with the team they built this year they could do anything like that.
It all depends on these side deals. Well, yeah, if there are no side deals, they don't have enough picks to pull it off. But that's the thing. Like, Eichel's health matters a lot right now, and we also don't know what his status is. And so his medicals, we haven't gotten a lot of reporting on how good his neck is. And so even though I don't expect Eichel to play another game for Buffalo, I just can't imagine Seattle going all in on him. I'm all for it. I actually thought they could have gone for Carey Price and had some fun with it.
I think they I would wanted them to, purely for the chaos, purely for the and then also like marketing wise, like I know that doesn't matter hockey wise, but like that's a guy you can really be like the face of your franchise.
I thought if you
buy him out after 3 years.
I thought if you really wanted a marketable player, it would have been PK Subban, just because there's only 1 year left on his contract, not a lot of risk. And who did they end up taking? Oh yeah, Nathan Bastian from New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have gone that way myself. Like I was thinking maybe along those lines at first, but I was like, nah, probably not. But if you really decided you wanted a big face to market yourself around, I think you go with Subban instead, just because of the lower risk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, let's wrap this thing up and say, where do you think Seattle is going to finish this year in just a dreadful Pacific Division? Just dreadful. Like it is Vegas, the Husk of Edmonton, and then you have Calgary, San Jose, LA, and Anaheim, and you're like, what with any of those teams?
I think you're going to see. Hang on a sec. I need to get like visually in line for me.
Ducks, Coyotes, Flames, Oilers, Kings, Sharks, Canucks, Knights, Kraken. The way I see it, Knights are at the top. I see.
No doubt.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're
like, is Connor McDavid gonna drag?
Yeah, I would imagine Edmonton will be up there. There's something about the Flames. I can just see them again taking another step back, losing a guy like Gio. is probably going to affect them, make them worse. Depends on who they acquire in the offseason if they do. Imagine they signed Dougie Hamilton, he comes back. But yeah, I would say probably Seattle finishes probably around the 3-4 slot in my opinion.
I think obviously it's going to be Vegas at number 1. I'm going to say LA finishes number 2. I just think some of their prospects, I think some of their prospects are going to come in and impress. I'm going to have Anaheim jumping up to number 3. I'm going to have Calgary at number 4, and then Seattle at 5, and then Vancouver, San Jose.
Ooh. I had Seattle at 5 as well, but I had Vancouver like recovering.
Sorry,
some form.
I completely forgot to throw Edmonton in there, guys. I apologize.
I have Edmonton and Vancouver bad. Ahead of them.
I'm gonna have.
But they don't exist. Don't worry about them.
But like,
I'm gonna have Edmonton at number 4 in behind Anaheim, and then.
Can you? Sorry, not to cut you off. Can you explain the Anaheim thing? Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a big fan of John Gibson. I think they've got some young players that are good. I think Trevor Zegras will take a step. I think Drysdale will hopefully.
I think they're gonna make a big trade for a top 6 forward. Like, I think one of Reinhart or Eichel is gonna go to Anaheim.
That's fair.
Yeah, that changes a lot.
That changes a lot of things. That certainly changes a lot.
I think LA is the wild card. This Seattle team's not good right now, and they're like 4 or 5 in this division, which is just dog crap.
I think that they can. I think that they could surprise, but not in the sense of like being. I could see them. I could see them potentially being 3. Like I could see them potentially. Like if all things go right, I don't hate their defense. I don't hate their goaltending. I don't hate all of their forwards, and I think that they'll probably sign someone.
They need a bunch of players. They need like at least another 4 NHL players.
Yeah,
and I think they need to sign some guys still to get to the cap floor, eh? Like I don't even know if they're at the cap floor.
It depends on. Well, they also need the contract floor. I don't know if how it counts with Larson.
They'll have some RFAs to sign still, but yeah, like. I want to wait until they've signed, like they have their final roster. Like they're going to sign some UFAs, you'd have to think. I'm going to wait for that before I decide where they're going to finish. But if it's this roster, it's going to be like bottom half of the Pacific, I think.
I just pulled up Armchair GM, and one of the first things is someone putting together the Seattle team. The free agent signings that they have. Oh, that's a lot. Never mind. I was gonna just go and say like, yeah, sure, this is good, but they have Vince Dunn for 8 years at 5.25, which
wow,
that's a lot. And
like for that term,
but it could be. I wouldn't sign him for 8 years is a lot.
All the other RFAs are signed for like 925, 925, 925, 925, 850, 78. So like, and then with that, they're at 61 mil. So, which is, I think, is the cap floor, is it not?
Pretty close.
Yeah,
pretty close 61. To that.
So here's the lineup that I see on one of the Armchair GMs. First line's McCann, Gord, and Eberle. That seems right.
It's a good first line.
I mean, I might have McCann on the second line. Their second line is Donskoy, Appleton, and Colin Blackwell, but I would have done Appleton, Donskoy, maybe Tanev.
Or maybe Yarncroke. Yarncroke could maybe fit there.
Yeah, I'd probably say Yarncroke.
But then, like, you look at their bottom 6. It has Morgan Geekie, Tyler Pitlick, Alex Drew, who's
Brandon
cousin
Tanev.
of Nikolai Ehlers.
It's a lot of
Carson
man.
Torres. Yeah, it's bad. Their bottom 6 is bad. But then if you look at their defense, it's Giordano and Larson, Alexiak and Vince Dunn, Soucy and Jeremy Lauzon. Like, that's a respectable defense.
I think that they did well defense-wise, like decent, like well enough. Goaltending, again, is a bit of a we're taking a risk on these three.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm also not I don't hate the we're getting 3 guys who are a little bit all unproven and just kind of letting them fight it out. I think that's not a bad way to try and incentivize playing as good as possible. I think Dreger can be a good guy to split, and I think Vanacek can be better than he was this year. I didn't think he was
Yeah.
awful, but he definitely wasn't fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. The weird thing is, it's like I look at both the Caps and kind of doing what I was saying before with like how I was saying with Winnipeg and Edmonton, where you have like you have to take one forward, one D. I'm surprised looking at like the Caps and the Wild, where it's like they took Vanacek and they took Susi when like they could have went with like Kakinen and then taken like a Brendan Dillon or like a guy who, you know, there's a couple guys on the Caps who on D that could potentially be, you know, decent. Like I'm pretty sure Brendan Dillon has good defensive numbers. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a little weird the way that this all shook out, specifically without having any side deals either.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I agree with you. I like in my mock draft I had them taking Kakinen from Minnesota, and I had them taking Nick Jensen, right-handed defenseman, which who did they end up with at right defenseman? It wasn't particularly
At
great.
right D they have Adam
Larson,
Larson and Lazon, and is Hayden. I'm pretty sure
Lazon's
Hayden-
left-handed, isn't he? Like I know he plays the right side,
yeah.
but I think he's left-handed.
Yeah,
then,
Cale Fleury plays on the right side.
right.
Hayden Fleury plays both, but I think he's really a right-handed defenseman.
Right.
So
Will
It's weird.
Borgen.
yeah, it's not great.
Oh, and Cale Fleury, I guess, is right-handed.
Yeah, he is. So
Is Cholowski? I feel like Cholowski's
Cholowski's
left.
left.
He's definitely left.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I could see them definitely playing some guys on their offhands. Considering I'm looking at it, and they have like Giordano, Alexiak, Susi, Cholowski, Dunn. Like those are all left-handed guys for sure. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm sure they'll acquire some other guys. This is I don't see this being
maybe
their roster
maybe
going
they
into the
signed
year.
Dougie Hamilton. Who knows?
They might. They genuinely might.
So
I'll
I
be
don't
sad.
think so. Not if
I
they're
think-
playing with their 3-year window.
Yeah, but
I
I
think-
mean, you don't think he'll be good in 3 years?
It's
Never
going to take
know.
a huge cap hit.
you never know.
Risky, but you know, I they have the cap space.
I think Kishore was trying to wrap this up a half hour ago.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
So I'll wrap up and say I think the one player that we can all agree that we would love to see Seattle pick up from the free agent market is the one, the only Matthew Perreault, because there's no one else that would look better in a Kraken uniform than the Frenchman.
Honestly,
I only say that
Yeah.
as a joke because we obviously want Perreault back at a smaller number, but Perreault would help fill out that bottom six.
God, I'd love Pro back on like a 1.5 mil. Oof.
best looking
So
guy
good.
in the league in the best looking jersey.
Yep.
Yeah, French Prince of
thank
St.
you.
B.
Thank you both, Brady and Brian, for joining us on our Seattle draft recap. I gotta say, as a review, a little wah-wah. It wasn't that exciting, not just because of all the F-bombs that were dropped early in the day from Cervelli, but just because I was expecting more side deals, and I'm just a little disappointed in that.
If you guys are wondering about the F-bomb reference, I made a joke that wasn't even a good joke in the chat. It's like the equivalent to Adrian Woj. Pardon me.
Woj bombs.
Yeah. I was making the equivalent to that, and I was like, well, so it's Frank Saravalli. His first name starts with an F. He's given the F bombs.
Yeah, bombs.
It was probably the worst joke I've ever made in my life. So
Yeah, but I
that's
liked
the
it, so I'm
reference.
gonna just keep using it on streams as we go.
Absolute king of hockey Twitter now. That guy just took
Absolutely.
over. Man, shout out Daily Faceoff for acquiring him. Like what a good signing for them. Holy.
You know who's going to get offer sheeted? Cervelli. He's the
Yeah.
one that's going to get offer sheeted. ESPN is going to be like, hey, by the way, you may have ruined our draft day coverage, but here you go.
I'm sure he was getting lowballed by all the other networks, so I'm sure he doesn't really care if they lost a little viewership. But
fair enough. Okay, we're going to finally end the stream. Thanks, everyone. and chat for joining us. I think we're going to have an episode out soon about the draft, which is only in a couple days. I think Justin has done a lot of prep on that, so hopefully we'll get an episode out soon. But thank you to Brady and Brian for joining us, and look for more episodes soon.